Hey, it's me. Welcome to my channel, The Way What Is Truth. Remember to like and subscribe and comment down below. Now, I was going to take a little break from my channel, but you know what? I got back to the house and I thought something's been on my mind recently, and it's about arguments and about why arguments almost achieve nothing. Very few arguments that happen between two people or a group of people ever achieve anything good. Some do, but the vast majority don't, okay? So yeah, when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, late teens, I was a bit more of a hothead. I used to get embroiled in internet debates and arguments on various forums. And over the years, now I'm 35, I just realised that, well, ever since my late 20s really, my mid to late 20s, I started to realise more and more, and now I'm 35 especially, that arguments don't achieve anything. Whatever your worldview is, whatever your beliefs are or lack of beliefs, just keep it to yourself. If people want to listen to you and agree with you, then yes, that's fine, that's great. And if someone has a genuine interest in your side of the argument and in what your beliefs are, then by all means tell them if they really want to know. But a lot of the time, from my personal experience, a lot of people that appear like they're listening and that they're interested, really, they're only pretending to listen, or it might go in one ear and out the other, or they're just listening to you. And then whilst they're listening to you or like reading what you're typing on the internet, they're thinking of a way of proving that you're wrong, because of course they're more educated than you are. They've got far greater, grander, out of this world wisdom. You know, that you get the idea. You know, it goes on and on and on. People can argue about all sorts of things, not just the big questions like the origins of man and stuff like that. Oh yeah, by the way, before I start talking any more, I did a video called The Futility of Arguments, okay? I used to think that I came off as just slightly pompous in that video, maybe it's just my imagination, I don't know. But I think the video as a whole, if you watch it from start to finish, you may like it, okay? But I wasn't 100% satisfied with that vid. I watched it a few times after I did it, The Futility of Arguments vid I did. But yeah, I mean, watch it and perhaps comment down below, leave a like or whatever. You know, I mean, you don't have to agree with everything I say in every single one of my videos in order to leave a like. Or if you've got your own input to add, then definitely do so. And that goes for this video, of course it does. I always appreciate every comment and like I get. And yeah, anyway, what I was going to say is that as you get older, generally speaking, some people realise this earlier in life than others, but arguing almost never achieves anything. Okay, argument is a display of ignorance. It's not a discussion. There's a difference between a discussion and an argument. A discussion is something that's leading to something positive. It's like enlightening one another. It's okay. So they've got a worldview, you've got a worldview, and you can learn a bit from one another. That's a discussion. Saying, okay, so that's your point of view. This is mine. But when someone comes along, whether it's leaving a comment down beneath a YouTube video, it could be one of mine, it could be somebody else's, or whatever. The internet's been around for a long, long time, and when somebody has got like a concreted worldview, they're absolutely 100% certain that God doesn't exist. For example, science explains that absolutely everything, so-called science, you know. And they're determined to prove that you're wrong. You know, they're not going to listen to you. So please, if you're a Christian, try not to get embroiled into arguments with atheists and other people like that, because the vast majority of atheists, just like the vast majority of agnostics, Muslims, people from all walks of life, generally speaking, this is from my personal experience. If I'm wrong, then correct me down below in the comment section. But as far as I'm aware, whatever beliefs people end up having, I mean, of course, there are some people that flitter from one kind of belief to another. Sometimes people can be theists, can be theistic in their thinking one year, atheistic the next, then theist again. It doesn't usually work quite like that, but you get the idea. People can sort of frog leap from one idea to the other sometimes. You do get people like that, but the vast majority of people tend to just stick to what they believe, whether they're agnostic, they don't want to know, they just want to live their lives how they want to live them. So they don't want to know about anyone else's beliefs. A lot of people are like that. But generally speaking, from the day they're born, well, not from the day they're born, but from the day they sort of concrete to some sort of worldview or belief system, or a lack of beliefs. It could be a belief in reincarnation, for example. They tend to stick with that till the day they die, man. And when you get people arguing on it, it never achieves anything, because those people are strangers for a start. You don't know them. You might learn little tidbits about them, but you don't know their life story. You never saw them grow up as children. You don't know what that person's been through. You could be arguing with someone who's got terminal cancer, for goodness sake. Not everyone who's got terminal diseases tells people about it, especially not strangers who they're debating online with or whatever. The point I'm trying to make is that you just don't know who you're talking to. Bear that in mind. You don't know who you're talking to. They could have mental health problems. They could have depression. They could be lonely. There could just be people who are out for trouble. A large number of people are out for trouble out there. They like to become embroiled in debate. Some people get off on upsetting other people and trying to make them angry, trying to trip them up. And you know something else I've learned over the years at the grand old age of 35 is that if someone really is that secure in their belief system or lack of beliefs, then they don't generally tend to feel the need to try and force their lack of beliefs or beliefs down anybody's throat, because it's not just Christians who can sometimes be guilty of trying to to force their beliefs down somebody's throat. It can be atheists that do that with their lack of beliefs, or some atheists admit that not believing in God is a belief system in and of itself, which I believe it to be, but an ever-increasing number of atheists these days tend to say that atheism is a lack of a belief, so they tend to resent it when people say it's a belief. Anyway, that's enough about all that. I'm the sort of person that respects everyone, no matter who you are, where you're coming from, whether you're a murderer. Well, I do have my limits, but I don't judge anybody, and I've lost the patience to argue with people unless I'm in the mood for it, or I think I'm actually getting somewhere with someone. I tend to not bother. It's not that I can't. I'm actually excellent at debating and arguing. I'm very, very good. Well above average. I'm the sort of person that could run verbal rings around someone if I really put my mind to it. But I know it's not the right thing to do. As Christians, we're not called to be haughty intellectuals or to talk down to people or make people feel intellectually inferior. And I mean, there are people that I've spoken to, I'm sure, who could be described as being intellectually superior to myself, and yet I was right and they were wrong. It doesn't always go on your IQ or your qualifications or what sort of education or what sort of background you've had as to whether or not you're right or wrong in a particular discussion or debate. That's something else to bear in mind as well. Sometimes children can be right in what they're saying, and grown-ups in their 60s and 70s can be completely wrong. You get more wisdom coming out of the mouth of children sometimes than you do grown-ups. Anyway, without further ado, so I'm just trying to encourage everyone not to argue needlessly. Be very careful, be very, very selective when it comes to who you debate with and who you argue with. Arguments almost never achieve anything good. There is a kind of argument that leads to something concrete. It can lead to something really great sometimes, but those moments are few and far between, especially on the internet. So yeah, I mean, the internet's been with us now, ever since the 1990s, and it's chaotic. You get people tearing each other to pieces. We're talking about complete strangers here, and people can get worked up, people can get upset because they feel that their belief system and their worldview and the way they think is being attacked when other people come out with something that's contrary to what they believe, you see. So we've got to rise above this, man. We've got to love one another, to forgive one another as Christ taught us to. We're supposed to love one another, forgive one another, and not argue at all. And just before I read his Bible verse, I'm just thinking of what else I can come out with from my years and years of experience with this. It's never... I'm just trying to think. What was it? It doesn't bear any good fruit. Arguing almost never bears any good fruit. Like I said earlier on, sometimes it can seem like we're getting somewhere with someone, but we're not. Okay. So we all need to just take a step back, look at the big picture. I do apologise for this. I do apologise if my phone's going. I'm going to ignore it, okay? Actually, wait a sec. This is quite funny, so just bear with me. It'll probably ring twice and then she'll stop. Actually, you know what? I know my mum. This is actually going to be quite funny, so I'm going to keep the camera rolling. She won't stop ringing until I ring her back, okay? I don't know what she wants. Just bear with me. Hello, yeah, I'm just doing a video. Well, I am now. Oh, yes, I'll pray for her, yeah. I'll pray for her later on, yeah. Okay, then. All right, bye-bye, bye. Okay, yes, I do apologise for that. Anyway, what I'll do is read these Bible verses, and then at the end of the video, I'll add my own input, okay? Now, James 4:17. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. 1 John 3:18. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. Psalm 7:11. God is a righteous judge, a God who displays his wrath every day. Now let's not forget that God's anger is righteous. So many people who read the Old Testament say, oh, he's genocidal, he's jealous, he's immoral. No. You see, they're not looking at it from the right perspective. They're not looking at it from the perspective of mankind being sinful and of the context of the day. They're taking it out of context, okay? And when Jesus came, he did away with the laws and rules of the Old Testament anyway. Psalms 4:4. Tremble and do not sin. When you are on your bed, search your hearts and be silent. Proverbs 15:18. A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel. So if we're finding ourselves in an argument somehow, even the most patient and tolerant and mild-mannered of people, even the nicest of people can sometimes get involved in arguments. So, you know, no one's infallible, and it never achieves anything. Hardly ever achieves anything. So let me just say that again. Proverbs 15:18. A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel. Proverbs 16:32. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. And of course that applies to the way we talk to people, the way we interact with people. I've certainly made mistakes in the past in that regard. It's not easy to be patient and tolerant towards other people, especially when they're antagonistic and they insult your intelligence and talk to you like you're a moron See, this is just before I go any further, I would just like to say that this world is literally drowning in a sea of information on the internet, knowledge, different philosophies, different religions, different gods. You get everything from atheism, Satanism, the New Age movement, paganism, Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, Islam. Are you starting to form a picture in your mind as to why people have become so argumentative these days? A lot of people don't know what to believe. This is why a lot of people end up with no beliefs at all. They're not atheists, they're not agnostic, they're not Christian, they're not nothing. Then you get the people who describe themselves as agnostics, and indeed they are. And then you get the atheists. Now, bear in mind that many people who describe themselves as atheists are in fact agnostics. Okay, they don't always care to admit it, but it's the truth. Anyway, so just look one hard look at the world around you. Take one hard look at this world. See the state that it's in. And just be calm under the Lord, because the Lord God Almighty, there's nothing new under the sun. King Solomon himself said, there's nothing new under the sun. All is vanity. We chase after vanity, And most arguments are done in vain as well. They're heard one day, people are worked up about them one day, forget about them the next. A lot of what we stress ourselves out about just isn't worth it at all. Anyway, Proverbs 23. It is to one's honour to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. Okay? Proverbs 29:22. An angry person stirs up conflict, and a hot-tempered person commits many sins. Ecclesiastes 7:9. Do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of fools. 2 Timothy 2:23-24. Don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments, because you know they produce quarrels. Since when did getting angry and annoyed at somebody else's worldview or point of view or lack of beliefs or belief in a false god ever achieve anything? Okay. And then it goes on to say, and the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but must be kind to everyone, able to teach, not resentful. You see, there's a lot of resentful Christians out there. There have been times in the past when I've been resentful too and argumentative, not to excess, but I've had my moments. Okay, so yeah, how can we call ourselves Christians if we're going out of our way to talk down to other people and we're dismissing other people's point of view? We should never be arrogant. Like I said earlier on in this video, I don't really have the patience to argue anymore and debate, not even the so-called good debates and arguments or the semi-good debates and arguments. I just don't have the patience. Most arguing these days and most intellectual debates does not interest me at all. I just do not have the patience for it. Every now and again I'll go out of my way to give somebody the time of day if I think that it's worth something. I'd rather give some answer rather than none at all. But even then, I grow very weary and very impatient. I just get bored and because I've heard every single argument under the sun. I've heard it all. I've heard all the arguments, and I just water off a duck's back with me now. Colossians 3:21. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. Matthew 5:22. But I tell you that everyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court, and anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. And of course, it can lead to that if people don't repent and become more and more filled with sinful pride and resentment and everything. Proverbs 30:33. For as churning cream produces butter, and as twisting the nose produces blood. Oh, sounds nasty. So stirring up anger produces strife. Yes, it does, and strife never achieves anything. The world has enough strife, enough anger and quarrels and arguments as it is without us Christians contributing to it. Let those who like to quarrel and argue and quarrel amongst themselves. Pray for them. Proverbs 21:19. Better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. That can also apply to a quarrelsome and nagging husband, I suppose, but it does refer to a wife. Yeah, I've never had a wife. I only had one 6-month relationship. So that must be very, very true. Better to live in a desert, or I suppose you could swap desert with a desert island as well. Colossians 3:7-9. But that's what it says, nonetheless. Better to live in a desert. That's the example this verse used. Better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. That's Proverbs 21:19. Colossians 3:7-9. You used to walk in these ways in the life you once lived, but now you must also rid yourselves of all such things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices. Philippians 2:14-16. Do everything without grumbling or arguing. I definitely need help with this because oftentimes I find myself grumbling, sometimes just to myself. Okay, there's things in my life that I am dissatisfied with, to say the least. So definitely pray for me. If you're curious about my life and my problems and what I'm struggling with, ask me down below in the comment section and I'll tell you. Perhaps you'd like to refer to my video that I did where I've done several videos about my life. Well, 2 or 3 of them. The last one I did was called I Talk About My Life, and you'll learn a lot about me by watching that vid. Anyway, then it goes on to say, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God, without fault in a warped and crooked generation, then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. We're supposed to stand out as Christians in Christ and not behave like the way the world lives, which is easier said than done. As you hold firmly to the word of life, and then I will be able to boast on the day of Christ, but I did not run or labour in vain. Proverbs 19:13. A foolish child is a father's ruin, and a quarrelsome wife is like the constant dripping of a leaky roof. Now, how many? Let me just. Oh, okay, we're almost at the end now. Yeah, Proverbs 25:24. Better to live on a corner of the roof than share a house with a quarrelsome wife. It seems to refer to women an awful lot, but you could just as easily apply that to argumentative men as well. Proverbs 13:10. Where there is strife, there is pride, but wisdom is found in those who take advice. Yeah, that is so true, because a good bulk of I was going to say the majority of people. I don't want to offend anyone who's watching this video, but so many people don't like to take advice about anything, even small things. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Just before I end it, I'm going to try and think of 1 or 2 other things to add maybe, but I don't think there really is anything. If you've got anything you want to add about arguments or strife or bickering, I'd just like to encourage everyone to be at peace with one another, to forgive one another. And even if we have fell out with people, whether it was a debate, an argument, or perhaps it's something else entirely, we just fell out with someone. Perhaps we have a member of the family that, who is not a Christian, who we perhaps argued with to try and lead them to Christ, but it hasn't worked out. That's just one example. Definitely share your experiences of arguing and arguments and debates down below. And see you on the next one. Bye bye and take care.